Hello guys! Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're doing great by God's grace. If you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the latest content. Fans of Sister Wives have been watching the Browns' tangled saga, a tale spun with religion, family, and more recently, messy battles over land, for more than a decade. But no one anticipated the high-stakes drama that unfolded when Janelle Brown sued her ex-husband, Cody Brown, for control of the now famous Coyote Pass property. When the judge's gavel fell for the last time, you could almost taste the tension in the room. Janelle took her victory with a clear and very public conquer. It was done with the kind of poise that even her detractors couldn't help but admire. Cody, however, departed with slumped shoulders, his skin as white as a sheet, and that telltale expression of someone caught red-handed. Because here's the thing, losing the case was bad enough, but along the way, Cody's alleged backroom shenanigans, talked about for months, came spilling out into the public eye. The dream that turned sour Coyote Pass used to be Cody's grand vision, 14 acres in Flagstaff, Arizona, where every wife would have her own custom-built house. But like most of Cody's big ideas, reality didn't live up to the dream. Christine did leave eventually. Mary started standing distant. Janelle fought with Cody about finances. And Robyn? Well, her property alone was the one that ever seemed to actually make any headway. Court records showed something worse still. Cody had supposedly been manipulating property lines and altering legal titles in secret, directing the most desirable plots to himself and Robyn. Janelle's lawyers arrived with a paper trail that spoke for itself: covert meetings with land surveyors, clandestine title switches, and clandestine contracts signed behind the backs of other co-owners. It was the sort of dubious wheeling and dealing that fans had long suspected. But now, it was in black and white. The smoking gun email. The breakthrough came when Janelle's lawyer produced an email exchange between Cody and a property development consultant. In it, Cody supposedly raised the prospect of making Janelle's property less desirable for construction by redirecting utilities and instituting zoning changes. A line read in court made the whole gallery gasp. If she realizes her share is more trouble than it's worth, she'll accept a buyout and I can consolidate with Robyn's land. For Janelle, it wasn't a business betrayal. This was personal. After decades of establishing a life with Cody, this was a gut blow. Witnesses described that she remained calm though. Calm, steady, but with a quiet steel in her eyes. When the emails were read, she sat up straighter, crossed her arms, and fixed her eyes on the judge, never once glancing at Cody. Following the verdict, Janelle was unapologetic. This wasn't about land. This was about respect. This was about honesty. And when those are lost, you have to take care of yourself, no matter if it means suing your ex-husband. From patriarch to defendant, Cody, once the swaggering head of a plural family, now the man on the defensive. His defenses crumbled under mounds of evidence and testimony. Even some of his die-hard fans in the courtroom appeared to distance themselves from him. At one point, the judge supposedly said to him, "You cannot treat a family trust like your own personal account." By the trial's end, Cody's sole victory had been not being charged with a crime yet, but the blow to his reputation, that's not temporary. Robyn's tears and public backlash. Robyn Brown, Cody's sole remaining wife, sat in court for most of the trial. She was spotted outside wiping away tears as reporters yelled questions. A source close to the family said Robyn was devastated and asserted she really believed the land deal was equitable. She's now afraid people will think she was complicit, which she denies. Online fans weren't so sure. Social media erupted in allegations that, if she had no idea, she certainly reaped the rewards of it. Christine's subtle "I told you so" now. Happily remarried to David Woolley, Christine followed the trial from afar, but couldn't resist weighing in on Instagram. She posted, "Some people will go to any length to keep control. I'm just glad some of us got free." The comments section exploded with cheers, memes, and calls for Christine and Janelle to enjoy wine together on their new Cody-free porches. Mary's quiet support. Mary Brown, often the quiet observer in the Brown family drama, reportedly sent Janelle a private congratulatory message. Mary knows what it's like to be cornered by Cody. An insider said, seeing Janelle win gave her a sense of justice, even if it wasn't her fight this time. The verdict, The judge's ruling was crystal clear. Janelle retains full ownership of her Coyote Pass portion. Cody must pay her legal fees. Any recent property transfers he made without a unanimous agreement are null and void. That is, Cody not only lost, he must reverse years of backstage jockeying. Internet fans summed it up best. This is the season finale we didn't know we needed. Cody attempted to play chess, but Janelle brought the entire rulebook to court. What's next? Janelle suggested that she might now develop her land, not only as a house, but as a statement. She's said to be considering an environmentally friendly, modern design that could be showcased on her own spin-off show. "I want my kids and grandkids to know that you can stand your ground," she said to a friend. Cody, on the other hand, is under increasing pressure, and nobody knows what he's going to do next. Pressure on Cody wasn't only originating from the public, it was also emanating from within his own home. Sources reveal that his relationship with Robyn has become strained since the trial, with muffled debates over money and the indignity of public shame. Some even propose that Cody's planning a media redemption tour. But with his reputation in shambles, it's difficult to picture who would listen to him. The courtroom fight for Coyote Pass was supposed to have been about land, but the effect was far deeper. It broke open decades of anger, revealing behind-the-scenes maneuvers and shattering the fiction of Cody's complete dominance. To fans it seemed like poetic justice. The man who once controlled every step in the family to his benefit had been outmaneuvered by someone he didn't take seriously. Another blow. Mary's day in court. As if Janelle's triumph weren't enough, Cody was back in court soon, this time with Mary Brown. The result? Another blowout loss. It occurred in a subdued courthouse, away from the spotlight of TLC cameras, where Cody Brown, once the most divisive patriarch of reality TV, encountered a wall he could not sweet-talk, manipulate, or steamroll past. The judge's words cut as precisely as a surgeon's knife. "Mr. Brown, you are commanded to restore full and immediate possession of the disputed property to Miss Mary Brown." There was silence in the room for 2 heartbeats, then a shocked gasp. Mary, seated in the front row next to her lawyer, blinked back tears. Cody, jaw clenched and fists clenched, glared forward as though unwilling to acknowledge the verdict. How it all began to offhand Sister Wives fans. The land feud may have felt like yet another subplot, but to those who knew the family well, it was a time bomb waiting to explode. The land wasn't mere dirt and grass. It was part of Mary's identity. She'd bought it years earlier as a personal oasis, a refuge away from the shadow of Cody's previous marriages. But as family money became more complicated, Mary alleged Cody moved her assets into the larger Brown family portfolio, behind her back. For years she suggested the disagreement in interviews and cryptic social media statements, until she sued her father over it last year. Inside the courtroom, Mary strode into court on the first day of trial dressed in a crisp navy suit, the demeanor of a woman determined to take back what was rightfully hers. Cody sat across from her, sporting his signature locks of curls, and a combination of smug self-satisfaction and annoyance. Mary's attorney presented years' worth of evidence, title transfers, emails and texts in which Cody supposedly understated her ownership and buried the land in a trust he himself owned. Cody's alibi? That it was all a miscommunication, and the house was always considered part of the family heritage. But the judge's face told another story. The evidence that sank him the turning point came, however, when Mary's lawyer produced a notarized letter from the original purchase, signed by both Mary and Cody, specifically stating she was the sole owner. The courtroom was silent as the judge read it out. The sentences slashed deeper into Cody's defense. He squirmed in his seat, not able to mask his unease. The cross-examination was over by the time Cody's supporters, even in the gallery, were looking at the floor. Mary's moment of triumph. When the verdict arrived, Mary did not gloat. She did not glance Cody's direction. She merely closed her eyes for a second, almost as if she were releasing years of anger at last. Outside the courthouse, she said to reporters, "This isn't about winning over someone. It's about standing up for what's rightfully yours and knowing your worth." Cody's silent fury. Cody didn't let reporters catch up. He strode quickly to his SUV, with Robyn in tow, her hand on his shoulder. After the cameras dissipated, sources relate that he erupted with anger, rambling about being betrayed and the media. Insiders state that he has no plans to apologize to Mary, which will make things between them only more severed. Family reactions. The ruling shook the Browns to their core. Janelle, her own court victory still fresh on her mind, allegedly texted Mary, "Proud of you, you stood up for yourself, and you won." Christine was more direct on Instagram. "Sometimes you need to go before they realize what they lost from you." The adult children were divided. Some quietly defended their mom, while others feared the repercussions might prevent future family gatherings. Public reaction. One viral image captured the sentiment. First Janelle, now Mary. Who's next to bring down Cody in court? What this means for Mary. Mary's triumph wasn't merely about land being taken back. It was a symbolic victory. She has now received legal validation that she was hurt, and the property is now in her name. Sources indicate that she intends to turn it into a retreat for women who are looking for empowerment after abusive relationships. As she's said to have told a friend, "It's my way of taking something hurtful and making it something healing." What this means for Cody. For Cody, it's another public humiliation on top of a long list. Strained relationships with Janelle and Christine, backlash for how he treats Robyn, and now a second courtroom loss. Industry players are asking, will TLC feature this real-life soap in Sister Wives Season 20, or discreetly distance the show from Cody to shield the brand? The bigger picture, if there's one lesson here, it's this: never underestimate the quiet determination of a woman whose Mary's courtroom victory was more than just a property dispute. It was a statement. After years of being quietly sidelined, she'd proven that even in a fractured plural marriage, personal justice is still possible. And sometimes the court of law moves faster and hits harder than the court of public opinion. But as Mary was celebrating, another lawsuit was brewing in the background. And this time it was Christine Brown suing Cody. Christine versus Cody. The battle for Truly. In September of 2024, Christine made a court petition in Utah with the name Declaration of Paternity, Child Custody, Parent Time and Support. The petition declared Cody to be the father of their daughter, Truly Grace Brown, now aged 14, and unveiled a surprising fact. Cody's name has never appeared on her birth certificate. Why? Their union was never legally established, because it was polygamous. That made none of the children's birth certificates state him as their father. Christine had her objectives clearly defined: official paternity verification, official child support, back payments too, formal custody and visitation arrangement. Inside the legal process, the case proceeded in December of 2024. It was categorized under Utah's Track 1 inch and Track 3 inches systems, the second reserved for more substantial custody battles, frequently the grittier, more conflict-heavy cases. There is no indication of violence or abuse, yet the court directed Christine and Cody into mediation, to take place on May 21, 2025. Both parties are required to make all pertinent information available prior to that. Currently, the case is still under seal. Cody's public answer isn't yet to be found. Money, timing, and public perception preceding Christine's lawsuit. In November 2024, Cody and Robyn went through some significant changes on the financial front. They paid off a $130,000 loan, sold their Flagstaff house for $1.775 million, and purchased a $2.1 million mansion, with a $420,000 down payment and a $1.68 million loan. For fans, the timing couldn't be more obvious. Here was Cody, splurging on real estate with Robyn, when truly his daughter, who was still in her teens, was supposedly being neglected in his financial priorities. Fans opined. Twitter went wild. Cody didn't support Truly. Christine isn't being greedy. She's being a mom. If Cody really wanted custody, he would have acted years ago. This is about avoiding child support. Most fans interpreted Cody's sudden interest in custody as a tactical play, either to avoid paying or to dictate the narrative, more than a real desire to be more involved with Truly. The bigger family picture. This lawsuit is in the midst of continuing family turmoil. Christine, Janelle, and Mary have all broken from Cody. Battles over property, such as Coyote Pass, have already been waged in court. The formerly single plural marriage has disintegrated, so that Cody is only legally married to Robyn, and at constant odds with his other former wives. Why won't Cody support Truly? Examining the patterns, a number of factors appear to be in effect. Legal loopholes. Cody's name was never on the birth certificate of Truly. In his own mind, that might have clouded or conveniently expunged his sense of responsibility. Financial priorities. Instead of contributing to Truly's bills, Cody seems to have been working on creating a new life and new residence with Robyn. Custody as leverage. Others think Cody is seeking custody primarily for the purpose of balancing or circumventing financial support responsibilities. Lack of involvement. As far as most accounts go, Cody's involvement in Truly's life has been minimal. His new enthusiasm now comes across as more reactive than genuine. No more sisterhood. Mary versus Robyn. As Christine's court case against Cody was reaching a boil, another controversy was soon to erupt. This one between the last two sister wives, Mary and Robyn. It occurred on a cold Flagstaff morning, with cameras in motion and producers holding their breath for another dramatic season. Mary Brown and Robyn Brown. Years of gracious smiles and staged expressions finally abandoned. Finally dropped the facade. The gloves were off. According to a source who insisted he was in the room, the fight wasn't staged, but it was a long time coming. They've been eating each other alive in the background for a long time. But this was war. Years of tension boiling over Mary, Cody's initial wife, has suffered over a decade of shattered promises, changing loyalties, and the gradual breakdown of her marriage. She consented to a legal dissolution, so that Cody might wed Robyn, saw her romance with him disintegrate into nothing, and survived gossip that she was now an alien within her own clan. Robyn, in the meantime, came into the family as the new romantic flame, introducing new vitality into Cody's life, and eventually persuading him to declare her his one and only legal wife. But eventually her public persona changed. She was criticized for playing manipulative games with the family structure, and using her favored position to marginalize the other wives, particularly Mary. The fight wasn't about a single disagreement. It was years of bitterness, vying for Cody's attention, and opposing visions for the future all exploding at once. As one family friend explained, it's like two generals who've been secretly recruiting their troops, and one day they wake up and say, "I'm gonna never get what I want if I don't destroy the other guy." The breaking point. The catalyst arrived on what was intended to be a low-key family holiday discussion, a topic that's long been a time bomb for the Browns. Mary arrived with her own visions for where they should meet, how traditions should be approached, and who should host them. And that's when Robyn, however, had already mapped out her own holiday plan, and she wasn't shy about making it clear that she expected everyone else to fall in line. She basically told Mary, "We're doing it my way this year," one insider revealed. And that was it. The spark that lit a decade's worth of frustration. Mary snapped. Years of being ignored, pushed aside, and treated as an afterthought came roaring to the surface. She told Robyn she was done compromising, done waiting for respect that never materialized, done acting like everything was okay. The scene became so heated that producers actually had to cut off filming for a time, but the damage had been done. That was the point of no return. The day sister wives turned full-blown rivals. How Mary and Robyn's friendship fell apart. In the early days of Sister Wives, Mary and Robyn were not enemies by any means. They appeared to be allies, perhaps even friends. When Robyn joined the family in 2010, it was Mary who urged Cody to go after her. She even came along on their first date, smiling through the uncomfortable moments, as Cody prattled on about his new obsession. Why? Well, says a former member of the crew, Mary was playing a strategy. She thought Robyn could bring back some harmony to the family, and perhaps take some pressure off herself. Mary was then the sole legal wife. She had security, but in 2014, her security was gone when she legally divorced Cody so he could wed Robyn. The stated reason was so Cody would be able to adopt Robyn's 3 kids from her first marriage. The unstated consequence, Mary's place in the family structure shifted overnight. She believed she was doing it for the greater good, a family friend noted. But after Cody married Robyn, it was as if the entire dynamic was reversed. Robyn wasn't a wife anymore. She was the wife, and Mary was suddenly optional. Small slights, big wounds. It didn't come suddenly.
It was tiny moments that eroded their relationship. Family sit-downs where Robyn's input somehow became the last word. Holiday vacations where her desires somehow always prevailed. Discussions where Mary's suggestions received courteous nods, but were not pursued. Fans caught on. On Twitter and elsewhere, hashtags such as #JusticeForMary and #Robyn Rules Everything began trending. Fans accused Robyn of maintaining her sweet, gentle TV persona, while secretly sidelining the other wives, particularly Mary. Mary eventually appeared to drift emotionally distant. She opened her bed and breakfast in Utah, took more trips, and on camera frequently appeared to be living in a different emotional sphere than the rest of the family. Nevertheless, whenever Robyn reached out, with tears and gentle words, Mary replied. She clung to a small hope of making up, but the infamous holiday planning blow-up put a stop to that once and for all. It wasn't about one Christmas, the insider continued. It was about 12 years of Mary waiting for Robyn to meet her halfway, and realizing she never would. From that moment on, the gloves were off. No more sugary smiles. The jabs grew sharper, the rivalry more blatant. The sisterhood is dead, one crew member bluntly stated. Now it's just two women in the same war zone, and neither is backing down. From reality star to rock-bottom desert, winds in Flagstaff, Arizona, can be biting. That morning, however, reality was even tougher for Cody Brown. For the first time in 3 years, since Sister Wives debuted in 2010, he wasn't the assured patriarch of a large polygamous family. He was an unmarried man, with no home, no money, and in his telling, one person to fault: his fourth wife, Robyn Brown. He told her right in front of everyone, alleged one flabbergasted witness, looked Robyn in the eye, and said, "You're the reason I'm broke. You've spent me dry." You could have heard a pin drop. Cody had long portrayed himself as the family breadwinner, cramming mortgages, car loans, business transactions, and the bills for 18 children into his schedule. But behind the scenes, insiders allege that it was all starting to crack years ago. The street scene no one expected later. That evening, residents saw Cody walking back and forth on a crowded street in Flagstaff, phone to his ear, waving his arms. Some report that they heard him shouting into the phone about attorneys and selling off assets. Others are adamant he was repeating Robyn's name repeatedly, shaking his head as if he couldn't believe where things had ended up. It was weird, one bystander said. This is the TV guy with all the wives and the high ambitions. And here he was, like he had no idea where he was going to lie his head that night. By nightfall, rumors were circulating throughout fan sites, Reddit forums, and Facebook groups devoted to sister wives. Was Cody Brown actually broke? And did Robyn actually have a hand in his demise? The warning signs Cody ignored. Years before Cody was walking those streets in the shadow of economic devastation, the warning signs were there, some quiet, some painfully obvious. Viewers debated for years about the family's excesses. Cody enjoyed discussing the importance of living frugally on television, but their existence did otherwise. Coyote Pass, the land that ate their future. When the Browns moved out of Las Vegas to Flagstaff, they bought an enormous tract of land, called Coyote Pass. Cody's grand scheme: construct one giant communal house for the family. Or if that didn't work out, individual houses for all the wives. Year after year, however, the land remained vacant. No construction, only accumulating property taxes and bills. It was a money pit, one production source said. Cody was fixated on Coyote Pass, viewed it as his legacy project. Robyn wasn't enamored with the shared home concept though. She insisted on something else. Robyn had her own plan, and she didn't bother keeping it a secret. According to multiple insiders, she made it clear she expected everyone to follow her lead. One source recalls her flat out telling Mary, "We're doing it my way this year." That's when Mary snapped. Decades of being ignored, pushed aside, and treated as an afterthought flooded forth. She informed Robyn she was finished waiting, finished compromising, finished being nice, while her voice was being drowned out. The fight escalated so quickly that producers actually had to intervene and stop filming. But by the time it was stopped, it was too late. That was the point of no return. The time when the sister wives turned into open rivals. And for real, it had been brewing for years. How Mary and Robyn went from friends to foes, all the way back in the early days of Sister Wives. Mary and Robyn weren't merely friendly. They were friends, perhaps even allies. When Robyn came on board in 2010, it was really Mary who pushed Cody to go after her. She even accompanied them on their first date, beaming through the awkwardness as Cody fawned over his new prospective girlfriend. Mary's reasoning at the time was strategic. According to a former crew member, she hoped Robyn could be a team player, help bring balance to the family, and take some of the pressure off her. And at that point, Mary was the only legal wife. She had a built-in sense of security. That all changed in 2014. Mary agreed to legally divorce Cody, so he could marry Robyn and adopt her 3 children from a previous marriage. The official reason was noble. The unofficial fallout. Mary's position in the family shifted overnight. She gave up her legal status for the greater good, a family friend explains. But once Cody married Robyn, everything flipped. Robyn wasn't just another wife. She was the one. And Mary suddenly felt optional. Small slights, big wounds. Over the years, little things chipped away at their relationship. Family decisions where Robyn's opinion always seemed to be the final word. Holiday plans that leaned her way. Conversations where Mary's ideas were politely nodded at, then ignored. Even the fans picked up on it. Twitter exploded with hashtags #justice for Mary and #Robyn rules. Everything after some episodes. Robyn was accused of quietly excluding the other wives and keeping up her sweet, gentle TV image. In the meantime, Mary retreated. She opened her bed and breakfast business in Utah, took more trips, and frequently appeared to be emotionally detached from the other Browns on camera. But whenever Robyn came calling with tears and soft-spoken words, Mary engaged, refusing to give up hope that the relationship could work again. Until that Christmas planning explosion. This was not about one Christmas. The insider maintains. It was about waiting for Robyn to meet us halfway for 12 years. And ultimately coming to the realization she never would. From there on out, the gloves were off. The veiled jabs turned into outright criticism. The courteous diplomacy was replaced by naked competition for Cody's attention and family power. As one of the crew members bluntly stated, "The sisterhood is dead. Now it's just 2 women in the same war zone, and neither is backing down." From reality star to rock bottom, the desert wind was biting that morning in Flagstaff, Arizona. And so was reality. For the first time since Sister Wives began in 2010, Cody Brown wasn't standing as the confident head of a polygamist empire. He was a man with no home, no fortune, and according to him, one person to blame: his 4th wife, Robyn. An eyewitness says, Cody looked Robyn straight in the eye and said, "You're the reason I'm bankrupt. You've drained me dry." You could have heard a pin drop. For years Cody had been playing the role of provider, splitting his time juggling several mortgages, car payments, side businesses, and the constant bills of 4 wives and 18 children. But sources close to the family reveal that fissures had been opening up for years. Later in the day, residents saw him walking up and down a crowded Flagstaff street, telephone in hand, waving his arms. Some reported they heard him shouting about attorneys and selling off possessions. Others reported that they heard him talking to himself repeatedly about Robyn, shaking his head like a man who couldn't believe how he had fallen. Surreal, one onlooker commented. Here's the TV star with the big ambitions, and he seemed like he didn't even know where he was going to sleep that night. The red flags Cody dismissed. The reality is, the problems hadn't begun that morning. Onlookers had long noted that the Browns' level of expenditures didn't quite align with their earnings. Though Cody frequently espoused fiscal responsibility, the lifestyle indicated otherwise. Coyote Pass, the land that ate their future. When the family moved out of Las Vegas to Flagstaff, they purchased an enormous amount of property known as Coyote Pass. The plan? Either one big communal house or multiple houses for multiple wives. But years went by. The land remained vacant. Property taxes accumulated. No foundation was ever poured. One insider says Cody was obsessed. He saw Coyote Pass as his legacy project. Robyn, on the other hand, didn't care for the shared home concept. She pushed for something else entirely. After that tense phone call outside the gas station, Cody just stood there, still as a statue, For what one witness said felt like half a minute. Then, almost to himself, he muttered, "So, I'm done." There he strolled to a public bench, in the center of town, sat and lingered for hours. No cameras, no wives, no fans, just one man bracing the biting wind, and an even chillier reality of everything that had slipped away from him. Robyn's side of the story: tears, truths, and turmoil. Robyn Brown was always something of an enigma. To some, she's the glue that held the family together. To others, she's the wedge that pushed them apart. Now, with this new scandal, Robyn was back under the brightest lights ever. Following Cody's public breakdown and that isolated stroll down Flagstaff streets, Robyn shut herself away in her house. The same house that was at the heart of it all. The financial turmoil. Friends report she was devastated. There were the tears, the outbursts of anger, and a desperate urge to explain herself.
She feels trapped, confessed one close friend. The other wives, alliances, betrayals, and backroom battles. The Brown family's equilibrium has always rested on unspoken accommodations and a secret rule to maintain the plural marriage, but with bankruptcy hanging over them and fingers being pointed, cracks that were concealed started to open. Mary's reaction. Mary, the lead wife, has never had a problem letting her frustrations get the best of her with Cody or with Robyn. And by people close to her, she's certain Robyn is the culprit behind this entire financial downfall. Mary feels vindicated, explained one insider. She's been telling us for years. Robyn was too demanding, too costly. Now that Cody's broke, she feels justified. Although it hurt that so much damage had to be done first. Following Cody's meltdown, Mary apparently cut off all contact with Robyn. Janelle and Christine, the traditional peacekeepers in the group, were Janelle and Christine, but even they were not able to avoid the tension. There are those who say that Janelle secretly agrees with Mary, that Robyn went too far, that she bullied Cody. Christine took a lower profile, hating arguing and being calm. But there are rumors that she's secretly angry with the way Cody's managed money. Behind the scenes, the wives started to exchange stories, vent about their grievances, and even conspire for future plans. Sister wives' set became frosty, cold shoulders instead of smiles, curt words instead of easy banter. "It's a chess game," said one production assistant. "Everyone is waiting for someone else to make a blunder." Cody's isolation grows with every passing day. Cody felt increasingly isolated, no longer the suave patriarch he used to be, but a man desperate to cling to a family that was getting away from him. The public has their say as word of Cody's financial woes came out. Sister Wives viewers had a lot to say, and their comments were as polarized as the Browns themselves. Some sympathized with Cody, labeling him a tragic character who was brought low by the task of pleasing so many people being impossible. "It's sad to see Cody like this," one Instagram commenter wrote. "He did his best, but it just wasn't going to work out." Others liked that he was honest during the meltdown, labeling it as one of the few times he was actually vulnerable. But Robyn was blamed by many, accusing her of spending well beyond the family's budget and coercing Cody into impulsive choices. "Robyn's been pulling the strings from behind the scenes," wrote one Reddit commenter. "And now Cody's suffering the consequences." Other fans even theorized that she was intentionally ruining the finances to have more authority. Bigger questions about the lifestyle online discussions soon turned from the Browns themselves to whether or not polygamy could ever financially work. "This is what happens when one man tries to support multiple wives and dozens of kids," one commenter wrote. "It's not sustainable, no matter how much TLC dresses it up." Others pushed back, saying TLC's editing and outside pressures were just as responsible as any personal choices. The media jumps in tabloids wasted no time, running headlines like "Sister Wives Patriarch Bankrupt." The Robyn factor inside the Browns' financial fallout, could it have been avoided? In the background, there's another version of this tale, a more subdued one. The Browns might have skipped this destiny. Some claim. Insiders say TLC actually offered access to financial advisors to assist with the special needs of a gigantic blended family. But Cody frequently disregarded their guidance. "Their money was complicated." "Yeah," said one former consultant. "But warning signs were there. Had he listened, all this could have been avoided. At the same time, the pressure of being on camera, upholding appearances before the cameras, preserving a particular image, urged them towards a life that was just too costly to maintain for. The Browns kept putting on showy family reunions, buying opulent new houses, and presenting an idealized life to enthrall audiences. Aides attribute this to generating a vicious cycle of spending, a constant feedback loop. The more they spent, the more drama they caused. The more drama, the more viewers, and the more viewers, the larger the check, said one crew member. And none of it was sustainable. The role of personal choice while outside influences were at play, most think the actual reason they failed is because of personal choices. Particularly Cody's, he promised each of the wives things that he couldn't deliver, said a family friend. He didn't want to let them down. And perhaps that's what killed him. The emotional fallout behind the blinding strobes and Twitter tempests was a bitter reality. The bankruptcy didn't only leave their bank accounts dry, it devastated relationships, trust, and the pillar of their plural marriage. For Cody, the breakdown was not just monetary, it was an identity crisis. Once the strong patriarch navigating a dynamic family, he was now having tough questions raised about his ability to provide, lead, and earn respect. He's lost confidence, a close source divulged. He's questioning everything, his decisions, his function, even who he is without the money and the title. Robyn's guilt and isolation. Though publicly defiant, those close to Robyn say she wrestles with guilt and loneliness. She feels isolated and misunderstood, one friend said. It's like she's trapped between loyalty to Cody and her own survival instincts. The wives' private struggles. Mary, Janelle, and Christine each process the fallout in their own way, some turning inward, others facing the new reality head-on. Mary's bitterness has deepened, a source shared. She feels both vindicated and heartbroken. Janelle is doing her best to maintain the peace, but it's wearing, another source conceded. Children caught in the crossfire. The drama didn't leave the Brown kids unscathed, most of whom now have doubts about where they will live, go to school, and what the future holds. And children are confused and frightened, said a friend of the family. They don't know why things are happening so quickly. What comes next? What comes next for the Browns? As the dust settles on one of the most dramatic moments in Sister Wives history, the family sits at a crossroads. Trust is broken, alliances are dissolved, and reconciliation is far from guaranteed. It'll take a lot of healing, if it's even possible, said an insider. Robyn's way, she can possibly center her efforts on restoring trust, rebuilding her name, and finding security for her kids. There are rumors she might leave the spotlight, or even relocate completely to begin anew. Cody's redemption. Sources indicate Cody is in talks about new business opportunities, therapy, and how to mend broken relationships. The other wives, Mary, Janelle, and Christine, can move into new roles, either as peacemakers, autonomous public figures, or agents of change. The TLC factor. The cameras never go away, recording every turn of the screw. Whether or not the saga continues on TLC is anyone's guess, but one thing is certain, the Brown family saga is far from finished.